Hey guys, today we're going to do some practice with the sine rule and the cosine rule. This is not a lesson. If you're looking for lessons on sine rules and cosine rule, I'll link some really good ones down below. But this is just a bit of assisted practice, so let's get started. Now this triangle, for example, you can see that we are given two angles and one side, and we're looking for another side. If you know how to do this, hit pause and do it on your own. Otherwise, I'll give you a couple of hints. First hint is that you should be using the sine rule. That is the sine rule with the side lengths on top, because here you've got a matching pair, angle and side, and you've got an angle which pairs up with the side that you're looking for. If you know how to do that, please do. If you don't, here's another hint. I'll set that up for you. Now I'll leave that for you to solve. Next question. Again, try and do it on your own if you can. If you need a hint, this should be the cosine rule. Because you are given two side lengths, you're looking for the third side length, which is across from an angle that you are given. If you know how to set that up, please do. Otherwise, here's another hint. Now you need to calculate that for yourself. Remember, you're looking for x, not x squared. Next question, again, try it for yourself. Which rule should it be? Sine rule or cosine rule? It's the sine rule. And this time you're looking for an angle, so sine of the angles go on top. If you know how to set that up, great. Otherwise, here you go. I'm trying to find the angle x. Usually I use capital letters for my angles, but in this question I used a lowercase x. You need to rearrange this to find out what that lowercase x is. Get that lowercase x on its own. Remember, we want to find x, not sine of x. So you're going to need to undo that sign. Next question may look like a right angle triangle, but don't trust it. So don't assume you can use SOHCAHTOA or Pythagoras. What will we use? Sine rule or cosine rule? We're going to use the cosine rule because this time again you're given two side lengths, you're looking for the third side length, and you got the angle that is across or opposite from the side length you're looking for. If you know how to set that up, please do. If you don't, here's your hint. Next question. Now, here I'm given two side lengths, and I'm looking for a third side length, which is across from an angle that's given. I hope you know by now which rule that is. That's the cosine rule. And again, try and set that up for yourself. Hit pause if you need to. Otherwise, here's your hint. Go ahead and work that out. Remember, we want x, not x squared. Next question, we are looking for an angle this time. The angle is across from the 3.6, and we are given an angle which is across from another side length. Is that the sine rule or the cosine rule? I hope you know now. It's the sine rule. And when you're looking for the angles go on top. Try and set that up for yourself. Otherwise, here comes your hint. This question here, you're given all three sides, and you're looking for an angle. Would that be the sine rule or the cosine rule? It involves three sides. That's the cosine rule. However, this is a slightly harder one because you're going to need to rearrange that cosine rule to figure out what the angle is. If you need a hint of how to set this up, we're going to set the formula up the same way as you've got above, substituting your side length values in here, but you're going to need to rearrange that for yourself to get this angle A on its own. Now, usually we use a capital letter to represent an angle, but they've used a lowercase a, so I have as well. Next question, which rule will we use here? Sine rule or cosine rule? We've got two side lengths and we're looking for an angle which is across from one of those side lengths. When one of the side lengths we are given is across from an angle that we're given. That's the sine rule. We're looking for an angle, angle's on top. Try to set it up. Hit pause. Here it comes. Rearrange and find out what m is by itself. Next question. We are given three side lengths again. Three side lengths. Is that the sine rule or the cosine rule? It's the cosine rule. And again, we're looking for the angle, so you're going to need to do that rearrange again. I hope you can set up the formula for the cosine rule, substituting your side lengths in. The tricky bit is rearranging to get that angle on its own. Next question, you are given a side length which is across from an angle, and you're looking for a side length which is across from a different angle that you're given. Sine rule or cosine rule? Sine rule. You're looking for a side length, so side lengths go on top. Go ahead and set up your formula, substitute the angles and side that you know, and rearrange that to get x on its own. This time we're given two angles and one side, and we're looking for another side. Sine rule or cosine rule? You've got a pair here, these two go together, and these two go together. That's the sine rule, and we're looking for a side, so sides on top. Go ahead and set up your formula, substitute into it, and rearrange to find out what that question mark is. Next one, sine rule or cosine rule? Sine rule. We've got a side length and an angle which is across from it, but that angle is 90 degrees. So we could have actually used SOHCAHTOA in this case if we wanted to. We can either use the sine rule that these are across from each other and these are across from each other, so setting up that formula, or we can use SOHCAHTOA. In this case it would be so. We've got the hypotenuse side which is across from the 90 degrees, and we've got the opposite side is the one we're looking for, given the angle 57 degrees. So if you want to use SOHCAHTOA, if you're more familiar with that one, that might be easier for you. Make sure you know how to set that up. We're looking for the opposite, we cover the opposite, we're left with the sine and the hypotenuse, and what do we do to them? We multiply them. Next one, we've got two side lengths. We're looking for the third side length, three side lengths, and we're given an angle in between the side lengths we know, across from the side length we're looking for. Sine rule or cosine rule? Three side lengths. Cosine rule. Go ahead and set up your formula, substitute into that formula. The important thing is that the angle that we've got is across from the one that we're looking for. So x is here, the angle it's opposite of is here. Go ahead and simplify and solve for x. Next one, sine rule or cosine rule? We're given an angle which is across from a side. We're given a side which is across from the angle we're looking for. This should be easy by now. It's the sine rule. You should be able to set that up for yourself. Hit pause and try to do that. Here it is. Simplify and find B. Next one, sine rule or cosine rule? We're given three side lengths. Three side lengths, that's your big hint. You should be thinking cosine rule. Again, this is a hard one though, because I gave you three side lengths and you want the angle. You're going to need to rearrange to find the angle. Try and set up the formula, substitute into it. The important thing is that this angle is opposite the 10. So setting up that formula, the 10 is the one that's on the other side of the equation. Rearrange and find out what x is. Now here are your answers. They're not in order, but if you've worked out your answers in order, you can assign a letter to each of your answers in order, and they should spell out the answer to this hint. What you need to be able to use the sine rule. I hope you know by now. I hope this has been helpful practice, and keep at it.